Hello and welcome to the Pick Please podcast. My name is Jakub Polewka and I'm a concert freak.
And my name is Łukasz Wojciechowski. I'm a musician and a guitar freak. We are
Pick Please. Hello, welcome in the first English episode of Pick Please podcast. As we said in the short introduction before our jingle, my name is Jakub Polewka and I'm all the time at the concerts, and with me is Łukasz Wojciechowski and he's an amateur guitarist. We both come from Poland and our podcast is normally in Polish, but as we're having international guests, we decided to put up a series of interviews in the future that are going to be in English language. So I encourage all of you to follow our podcast for future English episodes. During the recording of this interview, we unfortunately experienced some kind of technical issues, and we decided to re-record snippets of what we said. So bear in mind that some of this is re-recorded again, and I'm very grateful to our guest for his patience with the technical issues we experienced. And the guest I'm talking about right now will be introduced to you by my friend Łukasz.
Today's guest is a young musician who may have started playing guitar with one string only. He may have started his journey with blues in a country famous for samba or baiana rather than a blues. He may have also followed his dream of being a professional musician by coming to the United States of America from Brazil without even knowing how to speak English. None of those difficulties could have stopped him from becoming a well-respected guitarist, playing shows and headlining blues festivals all over the world. Oh, and did we mention he already played twice at Crossroads Guitar Festival? Or that he was a speaker at TEDx, talking about the journey of following his dream when he was just 16 years old? Artur Menezes, who is our guest in this episode, is one of the most guitar-driven players there are in the blues world. His music is a wonderful mix of different music styles: rock, blues, jazz, funk, swing rhythms, spiced up with Brazilian flavors. Being just 26 years old, he already recorded 5 studio albums and a couple of EPs. He shared the stage with such guitar giants as Joe Satriani and Buddy Guy. We believe he may be the only person in the United States who was granted a green card by the United States government for his contribution to the blues. In September, Jakub was standing in the first row at Crossroads Guitar Festival in Los Angeles when this young blues man played together with the teen guitar prodigy Grace Bowers and Grammy Award winner Kristone Kingfish Ingram. A month later, I participated in a masterclass that Artur conducted in Warsaw. The way he spoke about his anxiety in the past and how he started to meditate made me feel that we all have our struggles, despite the fact that he is a professional musician and I'm not there yet. We decided to introduce him in person to our listeners, and he's the young blood that will one day save the blues. Ladies and gentlemen, here with us today, Artur Menezes.
Hey, hello. Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it.
So let's start with the first question, and we'll go deeply into the roots of who you are. What are the most important lessons and values you got from your family?
One thing that I really appreciate about my family, it's because they were not pushing me to do things. So my parents, they got divorced when I was 2 years old. And of course, I still kept a great relationship with my father, although I wasn't living with him, but I was traveling to his hometown every time we have like holidays or vacation in school to stay with him. But most of the time I was with my mother. And as she was raising, at the time, 3 kids, and then my big sister, she moved, so it's just me and my big brother. She was all the time working. She still is a singer. She sings professionally, but at the time, the way that she was paying the bills wasn't with music. She was a teacher. She was a professor at a university. So she was, during the day, working, and at night she was going out for singing, performing shows. So I was in a position that, although my big brother was there to help me out with some stuff. He was a teenager at the time, so he was dealing with his own stuff as well. So I had to do a bunch of stuff by myself. Not because I was neglected or anything like that, not at all. It's just because my mother was doing the struggles to pay the bills. And by being by myself, I spent a lot of time with the guitar. I started doing things my way. And, nobody ever told me to, you go study, go do this, go to school, because I had that driven personality since I was a kid. So I was getting up early to wake up my mother so she could drive me to the school. Sometimes I was doing my breakfast. At the time, we were like ironing the uniforms. I was doing that kind of stuff. And once I got older, I was going to the school by myself and that kind of stuff. So I was doing things by myself. Not saying that they were not there for me. They were always there. But it kind of was an agreement that we had that we didn't discuss. It was like, okay, my mother's super busy. She's working to pay the bills. My brother is, figure out who he is. He's a teenager. I'm just a kid. I'm going to help them. So by helping them, I help myself. So yeah, I'm actually thankful for having that kind of childhood, and because, it brought me to where I am right now. So basically, that's the biggest thing that I got from them. And also, my mother was always super supportive when I decided to go towards music because she understands. And my big brother was the guy that brought rock and roll home. And from the rock and roll, that's when I got to the blues. So yeah, basically that.
It's absolutely fascinating that you had so much self-discipline and that you took the responsibility for yourself, basically without strict parental control. That surely helped you out later in your career. But coming to your relation with your mom, what does it feel like to be at this stage with a member of your family that you love so much?
It's a very interesting feeling because it's someone very close, right? But at the same time, I've been on stage with my mother since day zero or day minus something. I don't know, because when I was in her belly, when she was pregnant, she was already singing. And then after that, I was, when she was rehearsing at home, I would be there. I would start coming to the shows when I got a little older. And after a while, when I started having my career, so having her also join my shows, it was fun. We do like completely different kinds of music. It was good times. Yeah.
And nowadays, when you perform in Brazil, does it still happen that your mom joins you during the show?
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, because, things started to get more professional and the shows became bigger. So it's not like small place with friends. And because I sing in English, she sings in Portuguese. I play like a completely different kind of music. But yeah, I think I've recorded some of her albums, put some guitars, and maybe we're going to do that in the future again soon. I don't know. But yeah, but basically I come to watch her and support her, and she comes to watch me and support me.
It must be an amazing feeling to be musically so connected to your mom until today. Tell me, because you started with rock and roll, but then you shifted towards blues. I wonder, what is it that caught your attention in this genre? Also, how would you define blues, and what is blues to Artur Menezes?
So my brother, he bought his first record when he was 10 years old. It was an AC/DC album. I don't know if it was the High Voltage or if it was something like more from the 80s, already with Brian Johnson. I'm not sure. But having a big brother, you want to be like him, right? You don't want to be like your mother, your father. I want to be like my big brother. He's so cool. So when I was 3 years old, I was with him all the time, and I was listening to the records with him. So I was crazy about AC/DC. And at the time, as a kid, I didn't know, but AC/DC, it's a blues band with a rock drummer. It's very bluesy, Angus Young licks and everything. And I had that thing with me already without knowing, but I didn't know what blues was at that time. And I used to live close to a radio station, and the devices at my place, like the amps and everything, TV or whatever, they got some interference from the radio. And I was one day like jamming, probably learning by ear some AC/DC solos. And then I heard that music coming from the speakers. I stopped the vinyl and I started jamming with that music. And when the music stops, it was from the radio, right? So the radio host, he said, of course, in Portuguese, he said, oh, this is a show about blues and this and this and that. And I was like, blues? What's blues? And then he said the phone number. So I called and say, hey, I was listening here. What's the show's about? What's blues? And then he explained to me it was actually a special about John Lee Hooker. And then I started learning about the blues. But at the time, there was no YouTube, there was no that kind of stuff. You really need to buy the albums or get albums with a friend or get like a VHS. There was like love at first sight, love at first moment. Like I heard that and I was completely connected, jamming with that. And from that day, I knew that's what I want to be doing. And then afterwards, I figured out, how AC/DC was influenced by the blues and that kind of stuff. But after that, I got crazy about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Actually, first time I heard Stevie, I didn't like as a kid because at the time I was still like very into AC/DC and I was like, okay, this is too clean. Where's the overdrive? Where's the distortion? And then when I listened afterwards again, I said, oh, this is amazing. Oh, now I get it. Look how cool this is, the tones and how he can play fast or slow and with emotion. And then from Stevie, I went to Albert King and Freddie King and Albert Collins, Buddy Guy, and then came Jimi Hendrix, and then Otis Rush, Johnny Winter, Eric Clapton, so on.
No overdrive, no gain, no distortion.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
But thank God for the interference from the radio then. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to enjoy your amazing blues licks nowadays. Coming back a bit to something we talked about before, namely your discipline and hard work. You mentioned those characteristics in other interviews before, and we can also clearly see that, judging by the development of your career. You have an incredible work ethic. You meditate, you go to the gym, you keep your body and mind in balance. In your opinion, what is more important? Talent, hard work, or just luck?
I think it's a mix of everything. And even when you have the talent and everything, if you're not in the right place in the right time, also it's a bunch of things together. But I believe in talent. Here's the thing: I believe everybody could be great at doing something. If you have the talent, it's just going to make things faster and easier. But yeah, I believe in the thing about talent, and I believe that everybody has talents. Maybe I have other talents that I don't know, even better than what I'm doing, because we never know. But I don't think you need to have the talent. If you have the passion and the discipline and that's what you really want, you're going to make it work.
I think so too. All factors probably play a role. But let's focus now a little bit on your journey towards you being the musician you are right now, especially the unique sound that I would describe as your own. It seems easier to copy and imitate other guitarists, but it's much harder to go on a journey to find your own sound. And you went through that. I wonder, what were the moments and experiences that you could pinpoint that helped you define your sound and define who Artur Menezes is as a blues musician?
Yeah, I think it's getting more difficult and hard to have something completely unique because we had so many great players and so many people playing music. In the past, you had great players as well, but you didn't have how can I say that? It's just so many people playing music that it's really hard to be completely unique. And even the players that we think are unique, B.B. King's super unique. B.B. King took a lot from T-Bone Walker, and Stevie took a lot from Albert King. And it's impossible to be completely unique. Actually, you need people that came before you in order to become yourself. For everything you do, you cannot start things from scratch. It's super complicated. It's like a baby. When you're a baby and you're starting to learn how to speak, you like imitating your family, people around you, you're copying them. It's part of the learning process. It couldn't be different. On the other hand, it's the same. If you have the knowledge, if you have the talent and everything, but you don't have the technique, how are you going to express yourself if you cannot control your hands? So let's say you have like all the melodies in your mind and everything, but how can you put that out? Let's say if you're not a singer, how put that out if you don't have an instrument to do that? And to be able to express what you have in your mind, depending on how complex it could be, you need to have the technique. So I think that you have to have something that comes before, right? For me, it was just like that. I listened to all the masters, not because I wanted to steal. It's not because, okay, I need to learn this, I need that, I want to play this. It was more like about enjoying the process and being in love with them. So the first time that I actually saw a video of Stevie Ray playing, it was a VHS that my brother brought home from the show Live at Amocambo. I think I was like 13, something like that. I cried. And that was a very strong moment for me because as a kid, I never cried before if it wasn't physical pain or something related with my family. So it was the first time that I saw some sort of art expression. And then that made me cry. And then I thought, okay, I want to be like this guy. It's not like I want to steal all of them and then use it. No, I want to be like him. And then you keep listening all the time because you're crazy about that kind of music, makes you feel good. And then after that, same thing with Albert King, with B.B. King, really enjoying and, and listening and jamming together and bringing all of those to like your melting pot and then mixing everything. And then after a while, that becomes you. But here's the thing. At that time, still, I think it was easier than it's today, because today you have everything so easy for you. Oh, I love how Stevie Ray play. I can just go on YouTube and find somebody that teaches how to play like Stevie instead of learning from Stevie. Mm-hmm. And you actually have somebody telling you where to put the fingers, and you see exactly how he was doing, or somebody tells you have to do like this and this and that. Before, you had to listen and learn by ear. By learning by ear, you're going to make mistakes, or you're going to play the things properly, but you're going to play in a different region, a different approach. Maybe something that Stevie was like bending, you didn't realize there was bending, and then you do a slide. And then by doing the things, that what makes you unique as well. And it becomes you. Because Stevie was playing a lot of Albert King stuff, but he was sounding like Stevie, not like Albert. And that made me think, okay, Stevie was even older than me. So maybe at the time when he started listening to Albert King, maybe he didn't see Albert King playing live. Maybe he didn't know that Albert King was left-handed. Maybe he didn't know that he was bending, like pulling down the strings instead of going up. Or maybe he didn't know that Albert King was tuning this weird tuning, super loose strings, super light strings. So when he was bending those two whole step bends, maybe Stevie didn't know, and he was going by ear, bending a whole step ahead to reach that. So that's how it sounds Stevie. Or maybe because Stevie was playing like super heavier gauge of strings, and then he couldn't do like Albert. So you never know. So I think all of those things makes you unique. But for me, after navigating all of that, I think it was about 7 years ago, I stopped listening to guitar players. If I listen to somebody playing guitar player, it's not because he's a guitar player. It's because he writes songs. I like the songs. I like the vocals. I like the songwriting. Let's say Doyle Bramhall II. He's one of my favorites. And he's an incredible guitar player, but I didn't start listening to his music because of his guitar playing. It was just because I started listening to the songs and the way he sings and the way he writes the songs. And then I really liked that. So the reason that I stopped listening to guitar players is because I was sounding too much like them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I wanted to bring something, like something that comes from me. And like I said in the beginning, you cannot be so unique and bring things from scratch. It's almost impossible. But there was time that I was, okay, I'm sounding too much like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Or when I was playing 335s, okay, this is a lot of B.B. King here. And nothing wrong with that. But that was like kind of bothering me. And then I stopped listening to guitar players. And then, of course, all of that is going to come in my playing, because that's how I learned how to speak music, how to talk in the blues language. It was with them. So their phrasing, their influences, they're going to come up. But now it's also Artur Menezes. Yeah, it's basically that. Sorry, it's a long answer.
Listen up, dear listeners, guitar players. What Artur told about your guitar sounding like a different instrument, sorry, as a musician, I must add something from myself to that idea. Robin Ford said the same thing, that he always wanted to sound like a saxophone player. Many people have this approach, and the moment that you start realizing that, an example, it might be a great idea to play the line of a vocalist on the guitar. In terms of articulation at least, suddenly your playing gets to totally different level. I'm clearly thinking about Josh Smith as well. He also had Stevie Ray Vaughan era. He looked like him, he played like him, and he had a strat. Then he started to dig jazz and got inspired by Charlie Parker, and there is a lot of Charlie's playing in Josh's style. The bebop licks, the triplets. I believe that what you said is one of the most important lessons that you can give to a young guitarist. I'm so glad that you said that.
There was a time that I was also... You hear my cat like calling me? No, right?
No.
he's trying to open the door. I'm in the room here. He's trying to come.
So sweet.
But but anyway, there was a time that I got crazy about jazz as well, and especially the bebop. And I was listening to Charlie as well. And I was learning some licks from him and the kind of stuff. Also, something that comes up in my playing, it's melodies from this kind of music that I had in the northeast of Brazil, which is called baião. It's actually melodies from one of the most famous singers at the time. His name was Luis Gonzaga. So some of the melodies that he was singing, I put on my playing as well. So like you said, just like copying the singers is very important too.
You mentioned the inspiration from various music genres, from jazz to Brazilian baião. It's actually a good moment to ask you about your own perception of what you play, because I think that all this comes up to something that we could call modern blues. What's your perspective on that? Is that how you would describe your own musical style?
I think so. I would say, I play music, right? But if you put like in a genre, I would say, yes, modern blues. But also, if you come to my show, sometimes I play like two classics. So I play like a shuffle, a slow blues, like straight ahead. I love traditional blues as well, but I connect more like doing my own thing. And by doing my own thing, blues is very present, but I have other influences as well. But yeah, you could call it modern blues. Some people, they call like blues rock, modern blues, psychedelic blues rock, indie blues, Yeah.
Let's dig a bit more into your sound. In previous interviews, you mentioned endorsing the music gear and how, in the beginning of your career, it made you slightly go off the track that you wanted to be on. Now you have a different perspective on this topic, and when you get sponsored by a music equipment companies, you focus on the fact that you don't want to compromise your sound. Wanted to ask you about your connection to Polish brand, Euphony Pickups. They created a Artur Menezes signature pickup set for a Strat. Was it hard for you to nail the tone that you hear in your head?
No, it wasn't. So when they contacted me, I didn't know who they were. I checked the website and checked the pickups, and I liked what I heard. And then they contact me, in order to, hey, we like your music, we really like what you're doing. And we thought about we could have this collaboration to make your signature pickups. And then I said, okay, send me some of the stuff you already have ready there and let me see what I think. And then they sent me a bunch of pickups that they have already, that they sell, that's part of their cast of pickups. And then I tried and they were amazing. I was like, okay, this is really good stuff. And I really know about pickups because I've been playing guitar for over 20 years. And I'm actually not the age that you introduced me. I'm older than that. Just don't believe everything the internet says.
Oh.
But, yeah, I've been playing music for 20 years. And I've played a lot of pickups. And I have great pickups here that some boutique companies, they sent me. I have great pickups that Seymour Duncan sent me. I have great pickups that Joe Wilkins, he runs the company called JW Restoration. He works on Joe Bonamassa's vintage guitars. He actually built the mini guitar that I travel sometimes with. He built that guitar for me. He's amazing, super talented, and I love his pickups as well. So I know I have pickups that were sent from Fender to me, like made by Josefina. Great stuff, and I love all of those. But I really connected with those ones that Euphony, they sent me, because after they sent me, I like it. And I said, okay, I really like it. It's amazing, but I would do like this. And then we had like some back and forth. And I was saying, I like this, I like that. And then they sent me again. And then until we find the one that I really like it. That's why when I tell people, you should try those pickups, of course I want them to sell, but it's not the real reason. It's just because they're really great. So when I say they're great, it's because they're great. They're amazing. And that's how it worked. You asked before about compromising and that kind of stuff. So when I was younger, because I grew up listening to players that play Gibson and Fender, that's it. Stevie Ray, Fender, B.B. King, Gibson, Albert King, the Flying V, Gibson, Clapton, Strat, but also DSG and Les Paul and Strat afterwards. Anyway, and then I wanted to play those guitars because, not saying that there are not other guitars that are great as well. Many great boutique and new guitars, they're amazing. But they are not the guitars I grew up listening. But there was a time in my career that I thought, okay, maybe if I get like endorsed by some companies, they're going to give me some exposure because I want to be heard. I want to develop my career. So I worked with some companies in the past that I didn't like the guitar as much as I like the ones I play right now. But I decided to go for the exposure. And then there was a time that I figured out, okay, I'd rather be playing the guitar that I love. And some companies, they were great with me. Other companies, not so much. Other companies, they were doing nothing. So I was actually playing something that I didn't like and giving the exposure to them. So I figured out, okay, I'm just going to play what I like. So that's why nowadays I play Gibson and Fender, Heritage, PRS. I like those guitars, and I like two Rock amps. I love those amps. Victor amps, they're great as well. Bogner amps, they're great as well. And those pickups that I play, some pedals that I play. Nowadays, I play what I like. I'm in a position that I'm thankful and glad to be able to choose what I want to play.
I'm really glad that you found a company in our country that was able to produce you a set of guitar gear that you love the sound of. My respect to Euphony Pickups for a job well done. When we are talking about the Polish connection, you recently made a guitar clinic in Warsaw that I participated in. You shared with us a great story about overcoming the stage fright. I found it very inspirational and funny at the same time. Could you share it with our listeners as well?
Yeah, I remember my first show. Before I was just rehearsing with the band. And also when I was in school, even before the band, every opportunity that I had to present the work in school that I could correlate with music, I would do it. So I would bring my acoustic guitar, I would make a parody of, I don't know if I have to talk about the environment, I would take like a famous song, I would change the lyrics, that kind of stuff. And then rehearsing with the band, but never played a show in front of the audience. So I think at the time I was like 14 years old, something like that. So I had my first show, it was in a university, special occasion, I don't know, there's a lot of people. And then I was so nervous that when we finished the first song, I didn't finish. The band stopped. We were playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and the band stopped, and I kept playing for, I don't know, like 5 bars by myself. And everyone was looking at me, not saying anything, but saying with their eye, hey, the song is over. I was so shy, like I was so nervous. I was like shaking. I didn't enjoy. So after that, we're supposed to have a second show. I don't know, it was like a week later or whatever. Again, I was the band with my brother, right? With my big brother. And I was like, I'm not going to play the show. I'm not going to play the show. And he was, no, you got to play because you committed. You have to solo. We counted on you. You cannot do that. And he was like pressuring me to do it. And I didn't want to do it. I was so nervous. I wasn't enjoying it at all. I wasn't having a good time. And then we had like this argument, and he was super mad with me. And the very last minute, the day of the show, and I said, okay, I'll go. But I didn't want to go. I don't know what happened that night, but we started playing. And suddenly I was doing stuff that I never did. I put the guitar behind my back, just like Stevie. Start playing like with the hands up the neck, doing that kind of stuff, and with a great showmanship. And because I don't know what happened tonight. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was like destiny, if I was possessed by soul or demon or whatever it is.
Young cat has arrived.
Yeah, after that day, I got so much confidence, and I was like, wow. And then I enjoyed so much, and people enjoyed a lot. And yeah, I don't know what happened. It was something like supernatural. I don't know what it was. But basically, that's what happened. Yeah.
That's when the rock star was born.
Yeah, quite a comeback.
Well, so now we know how Artur Menezes the showman came to be. But as Łukasz started the topic of the masterclass that you gave in Warsaw, so let's talk a little bit about you being a music teacher. You're giving online lessons, or at least you used to, and you also teach a guitar on university campus and have your own guitar online classes in forms of videos on various platforms. I wonder, what is your approach to teaching? If you make a music lesson, are you focused on certain topics? Let's say, today we will learn how to bend the note. Or is it more a get-together and a jam, and I will show you some tricks and offer my guidance? So that's the first part of the question. And the second one is, do you think that teaching the music moves you forward as a musician? Do you think that by teaching, you're also making progress and learn something yourself?
Yeah, I am self-taught musician, so I learn everything by ear, right? And there was a time that I was curious about what I was doing, because I was doing stuff I didn't know what I was doing. It was sounding good, I was playing, but I want to know why I was sounding good. So I started learning music theory and everything. By doing that, that gave me two things. One is the ability to teach, because it doesn't make sense to hire a teacher or you go to school or whatever, and then you ask a question to the teacher, and the teacher said, I don't know, just put your finger there or just do like this. This is not how we teach. So number one, it gave me that theory behind. So when I teach, I say, oh, this is like this because of this. If you do like this, you're going to sound like this because of that, you know. And the second thing is by teaching and by learning what I was doing, it actually opened my mind to understand music in a different way. So I think learning by ear, it's very important. And if you have to choose one, if you cannot have both, go by ear, of course. But that thing that people say, you know, you don't need music theory to play the blues, or B.B. King didn't know any theory, why you need? Well, because you're not B.B. King, right? so you need theory. But yeah, I think music theory, knowledge of music and everything opened my mind to go in different directions, and then you can approach them both ways. So it's even better, it's more effective. The way I teach, it's like you said, I teach at the Musicians Institute, which is called MI. They used to call in the past the GIT. It's in Hollywood. But I'm not on campus anymore because it's been a while, because I'm touring and traveling all the time and performing. But I was actually there last week. So I was there for a clinic. It was super fun. It was really cool. And I have my online courses. There was a time that I was teaching like online lessons, like Skype lessons. I don't do that anymore just because I don't have time. But when I had the time, even the reason why I teach at MI, it's because I have a unique approach for the theory, for the way I play. And I don't follow their program when I teach there. So I teach my way. And I think when people, they want to learn music from me, they come because I do something that they like. Because sometimes I had some people like approaching me, they wanted to learn super basic stuff, or the level was like not there yet. I'm always honest. I say, hey, I want to be honest with you. Don't waste your time with me because my lessons are expensive, because they are very focused in one thing. They're very specific, and also because of my time and everything. And you asking me to teach you stuff that you can learn somewhere else way more cheaper. So I always do that. But the way I see the student playing, I ask what he wants, I ask what he likes, and then by his level, his skill, I give him some exercises or some approaches or some insights, give some theory. It's very personal. It's like a custom shop lesson. It's custom built for the student. Yeah.
And I can assure you, after taking the master class with you, you are a great teacher and have a way with your students. Okay, Artur, let's get down to the business now, literally. You recently got signed to Black Hill Records, a record company based in LA, founded by Roundhill Music. You are on this label with musicians like James Jarrett Nichols or The Cult, who are an amazing artist. Your previous albums were all self-published, but your latest EP, titled AM/FM, was released on the Black Hill Records. How was it for you to make shift from being independent artist to being signed now? What are your impressions? What were the reasons? And how is it working for you?
Yeah, the thing is, there's so many reasons behind. I've been doing things by myself, and I wanted to try something different. I mean, I had Josh Smith, he produced my last two albums, Keep Pushing, because it was the first time I had someone producing. I was still an independent artist, right? So I was paying for everything, but I never had like a producer. So I said, okay, if this is the first time, I'm not going to say anything. I came with the songs, and he was like, okay, let's change this chord, change this lyric a little bit here, try to play something like this there. So I was not 100% in the process. I was letting him lead. Second album produced with him, I came with everything ready. The songs ready, the lyrics ready, everything ready, like the charts and everything. So what he basically did was getting the musicians and say, you know, how about this drummer, do like this or that? Or he was like, give me great advice on tones, like, you know, let's try this first, or play with my guitar this song, let's do this. But working with the label, it was for two reasons. One, it's, of course, there are deals and deals, right? But basically working with a label, it's a bank loan. They say, hey, here's this money for you to record a new project. And then they start recouping that money back. So it's just a loan. And after they recoup the money, and then when they had the money back, and then you start sharing There's the good aspects and the bad aspects. But the good side, it's because it's hard for independent artists to have a big amount of money and take everything at once from their savings. Okay, let's record an album. It's very hard. So when you have a label coming with that money already, say, okay, let's do this. But they're very nice with me. I like them.
And I'm very sorry to interrupt, Artur, but due to technical difficulties with the internet connection, we lost around a minute of footage in this place. As we want to keep as much as we can from Artur's answers, I'll fill in a bit of background of what he said. He proceeded to explain how the process of recording the newest EP was different from the previous experiences that he made while recording as independent artist. The producer of the EP, Doug Bohm, called him up and invited him to come to the studio despite of the lack of the new material written. And we will let Artur finish up his story.
So the producer, he said that, and of course I had the lyrics because I'm always writing new material, but I didn't have songs. And he said, trust me, come. I never did anything like that. And I was like, okay, but I'm going to the studio without the songs, like without the chords, without the riffs, the ideas. And I don't know, I was like very skeptical about that. So when we got there was a drummer, as the same drummer that recorded the EP. His name is Will. And then he said, okay, let's jam. We played some songs together. He asked me what I liked. He showed me some ideas, some songs. And he said, okay, let's go to the studio. And then I had one of my amps there, a bunch of fuzz pedals, because I'm always playing fuzz. And I brought with me the 335. And then he said, okay, Will, the drummer, play something like halftime like this and like that. Will started playing. And then he was tracking, right? He was recording. And then the producer said, okay, Artur, play something. And then I said, okay, what? And he said, just jam. I said, okay. And then I started jamming, playing, and changing pedals. And Dougie was like, okay, change the drums, go like this, go back to normal time, the double time, like modulate or try some big chords and this and this and that. And I was playing. And I didn't enjoy, like, I don't know, man. I was all the time, like, in my mind, thinking that it was a waste of time. Because it was something new, I never did anything like that. Everything that is new, it's uncomfortable. It's always uncomfortable. That's why it's important to get out of the comfort zone in order to grow. But every change is uncomfortable, right? And I was super uncomfortable. And then we finished. And then he was like, okay, guys, great job. I think it was amazing. And I was like thinking, great job. I think I sucked. I don't think I liked, And then I came back home. I was like frustrated. And then I went to Europe. I was touring Europe. And then after a while, he sent me an email, the producer, and he said, hey, here are the cuts that I like. And then I listened. I really like it. When I heard them, I was like, I have no idea I played that. I didn't know I played this and this and this and that. And these were the songs that you hear on the AM/FM EP. Of course, we didn't use those recordings. I just took those riffs, put them together, organized the songs, and put the lyrics. And then we went to the studio again and tracked live again. Live. The only thing that wasn't live was the vocals and maybe some solos. And yeah, so the big lesson for me was, okay, be open to new experiences, new things, because I did something completely different that I was doing and came up something that I really dig. The only thing is, working with a label, it's so slow comparing with doing things by yourself. Because you are your own boss, you have your own time, your own schedule, and you don't depend on others, right? With the label, there's always like, you have to wait for this, you have to wait for the money to clear, you have to talk with the A&R and the producer and get the studio and get the mix, the masters, the permission to record and everything, and to release, when you're going to do this, let's wait for the best. So those songs from new EP, they were recorded in 2020, no, maybe 2021. Yeah, 2021, yes, during the end of the pandemic. Some of the lyrics I wrote before. I wrote during the pandemic, but recorded in 2021. So that's one of the downsides of having a label, because when you do things by yourself, at least in my case, everything is so much faster. But, there's the good things, like having to work with a great producer, having the support of the label and everything, helping you to release, coming up with the money. So these are the good sides of having a label. But it really sucks having to not be able to release songs right after recording them, because after a while you get tired of the songs, or you're not connected with the lyrics anymore, or you're in a different place in life, or you hear the songs and you think, I would play this differently now. I would sing this differently now. And that's one of the things about my first albums as well, because I was a kid when I recorded. Didn't have any producer. I was doing everything by myself. The budget was so bad, not enough money, and not good quality with the recordings. And at the time, a lot of things. I was still figuring out myself as a singer. I was still growing up as a guitar player. So when I hear my previous albums, it's torture. It's torture for me. But at least I'm happy about the AM/FM because I recorded that in 2021, just released like a couple months ago, and I don't feel disconnected to that one. I still believe the lyrics, they say something that I feel connect to it. Guitar tones, I dig. Everything I dig, like, I still love it, yeah.
And I'm very glad this EP came out because I think it's a great one. AM, FM, that's the radio frequencies, but I found information somewhere on the internet that this actually means Artur Menezes' fuzz machine. Could you tell us more about how this name came to be?
I was just in a phase that started a couple years before that I'm getting more and more interested in playing fuzz pedals. I really enjoy them. There was a time that I had a pedal board, like for the shows, like live pedal board, that I had 6 fuzz pedals, no overdrive. And it was just that. And then when I was recording, I only used fuzz, but we didn't have yet a name for the EP. And the name came because when the producer was about to save the session, he had already written like AM, my initials, like Artur Menezes. He had something like AM project. And he said, okay, what's the name of this project? And I saw that he had written AM. And I said, okay, AM, FM. With FM. At that time, it was just about radio. And I was like, okay, AM, FM, it's a cool name. And I put that. And then when we were about to decide the name, to choose the name for the EP, that's when I came to the idea, okay, so why don't we keep AM, FM? Because it started as a joke, but AM, FM reminds of radio, also gives that image of vintage. And because I only use fuzz pedals, I thought about, okay, so why not Artur Menezes' fuzz machine, just as a joke. And they got the label, yeah, we love this, let's keep it. Okay, here we go.
It's always great to learn a little bit about the recording process and these kind of fun facts. But now, a question that relates to the future, because we started this interview with a question about the past, your roots. Then we talked about the present, your new EP. So it's high time to talk about your vision of the future. Could you tell us what are the dreams and goals of Artur Menezes?
I would say I just want to keep doing what I do, but larger scale. What I mean, I just want to perform more, want to play more shows, tour more, keep recording, and maybe be able to release albums, not every 3 years, but maybe once a year or once a year and a half, I don't know. And and just keep doing what I do and keep evolving with my music, keep inspiring people, keep playing this mission of trying to help preserve the blues, not necessarily playing the traditional blues, but bringing new blood and new audiences to the blues. Since I'm mixing with other stuff, playing more modern stuff, so I can have like young kids coming to the blues scene, keep expressing myself through music, playing from my heart, singing, writing lyrics about things they care. That's one of the things that also changed my approach to the lyrics. They have been changing because I'm changing, I'm maturing as a human being, I'm getting old and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that I've written in the past because I was just repeating things that I see around me or repeating the blues lyrics that I've heard, but I wasn't really saying something. But now I kind of feel like I'm writing and I'm singing something that I believe. I'm talking about feelings, I'm talking about emotions, talking about anxieties, talking about injustice, talking about things that I do, and I know most of people, they do as well. Yeah, basically, that's it.
Those are definitely amazing dreams and goals that you've set for yourself. What I really like is not only that you want to be more famous, but you also have the mission to spread the word about the blues. That is how we can see and feel that you're deeply passionate about the music itself. And it's a bit similar to what me and Łukasz do. We run this podcast to share our love for the jazz, blues, and other musical forms with our listeners. And that is a very heartwarming that your perspective is similar as ours, but obviously on a much bigger scale to what we do in here with the podcast. That is a great idea to have always somewhere back in your head that is not only about you as an ego project, but mostly about how do people connect to it and what can you bring them, especially with the musical forms like the blues that are not the most trendy right now.
Yeah, these ideas, it's inspire people, you know. First thing is doing what you love, right? It's the most important thing is doing what you love. And as long as you're not doing things that you like, as long as you're not like hurting people around you. So doing things that it's good for you, but still respectful to others, like not crossing that line. So the first thing is doing things that it's good for you. I do this because I love doing that. The fact that people love, it's a bonus. It's like awesome. So what I do, I'm doing because I love doing this, but I'm happy that people love that. And this thing about preserving the blues is just because I love the blues and I figure out the blues audiences, they getting old. It's not really renewing. We have new blood in the blues scene. You have great, amazing musicians, just like Kingfish. He's amazing, and he's doing so well. And I think he's the biggest guy right now in this mission of bringing the blues back. He's the main guy. And you can help preserving the blues in two ways. One, it's like playing traditional blues, keeping the history alive and doing that museum kind of thing. And other way, it's like having people that have a modern approach and mixing with other stuff. And by doing that, you actually attract people that are already into those other kind of music, but they don't know exactly about the blues, but then they come to the blues. And then after coming, it's just like Stevie Ray. You know, a lot of people, they start listening to the blues because they heard Stevie Ray, which was already like Texas blues, a little bit more rock, you know, like faster. And some people came to him because they came from rock and they heard him and say, oh, this is blues, I like it. And then they started digging. And then they got to Albert King, they got to Albert Collins, and B.B. King, and T-Bone Walker, and Blind Lemon Jefferson, Robert Johnson, Booker White. And then, you know, it's also just like same thing that I believe Muddy Waters and Little Walter, they did with the Chess Records. They did something like innovating, you know. Little Walter just plugged his harmonica, just plugged the microphone on a guitar amp, played the harmonica on that mic, the bullet mic, and had that sound. Muddy Waters started doing the acoustic thing, electric, boom, and started doing that kind of thing. And at the time, I believe there was some people that probably they said, you know what, this is not blues, this is not right. But nowadays, that's what we really think about blues. When we think about blues, is the Chicago blues. It's the first thing that comes to our minds. So I think the evolution is important, and we need to renew the scene, and you need to work with two teams, the traditional team and the modern team.
Yes, both approaches are important to preserve what the history of blues was, but also I think we need them both to progress, because we don't want to be just stuck in the past.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, Artur, we are slowly approaching to the end of our interview, but we would like to end this with some kind of message to our listeners. What was the best music advice that you have ever gotten, and what would be your advice to the guitar players and musicians?
I think I don't remember who gave me that advice, and I don't remember if it was only one person, but it's just about playing with the heart. And I actually still deal with this because by playing from the heart, it means putting the emotion on it. And by doing that, you're not supposed to be thinking. We are all the time thinking. We are all the time judging ourselves. Our mind is all the time speaking. That's why we have those expressions like I hear voices in my mind and all those songs with those kind of lyrics, because we are all the time like judging ourselves. We're all the time like thinking what people think about us. So we judge ourselves. We care about if people judge ourselves or not, what they think about us. We want to please people. We want to be nice. We want to be loved, all that kind of stuff. But by doing that, it gets on the way of your playing, especially if you're playing in order to make art, not just like mechanic stuff, not just like going running scales or whatever. If you're making art, like you're making real music, you need to shut up your mind. Basically, that's it. And here's a very interesting thing that happens with me is, let's say I play a show tonight. Somebody posts it on the YouTube and then I watch the next day. And then I see the show. If I see something I don't like that I played, I remember what I was thinking when I played that. Many of times it's related to music, like I'm playing something and I remember, I remember when I played that, I was thinking about playing this scale here, I was thinking about playing something faster to see if the audience could, engage more or something like that. Or I hear something I don't like and I say, I remember I was thinking about what I have to do tomorrow, or I have this bill that I have to pay, or I have about this trip, or I need to check into my next flight or whatever. But then when I see something from the video that I really like, I say, wow, I really like that. I don't remember I played that. And I also don't remember what I was thinking. So that's the thing. When you're not thinking, that's what you play comes from your heart. It comes from a different place. It's about being present. It's about being in the moment. And this is very hard to do. It's very hard to do because, like I said, we are judgmental beings, human beings, they're judgmental. People judge us, we judge ourselves. We care about others, what they think about us. We want to please people, we want people to love us. So by doing that, we get inside our minds. But when you get inside our heads, it doesn't sound good. So some people, they use drugs for that, to be in that place that you're not thinking. I don't recommend. You shouldn't rely on something like that. Some people, they can do that because, they have one drink and they're fine. But some people, they have problems with alcohol or with whatever. But then for me, what really works is meditation. So by meditating, I kind of be more in the present when I play, and then I'm not thinking at all most of the time. So when I make mistakes where I play something I don't like, it's because I'm thinking. When there's something that I like, I'm not thinking at all. But then when you're learning a new skill, let's say you're learning a new scale, you're learning music theory, you're learning a song, of course you need to think. And of course there's always some degrees of thinking when you're playing. Like, okay, I'm playing a minor song. Okay, I'm playing the key of A. Or this is a shuffle. Or like, okay, I know that I have to press the wah-wah for this moment of the song, or I'm going to play a fuzz here or whatever. There's always some thinking involved. But this should come like just mechanic, just natural. But when you're really playing and making music, you have to play from your heart. This was the biggest advice I got. I don't remember from who. But I don't think it was only one person. I don't think nobody actually came and said that. I think I learned by seeing players that I like. But this is the advice that I think is the most important and I give to everybody.
Playing from your heart, that means you play without thinking. So I guess it's like being in the moment, being in the zone. That's probably the best explanation that I have ever heard about this philosophy. And I think that this is a very beautiful message that you are leaving us here with.
Yeah, and also being kind, because we always hear, be kind to others, right? Of course, you should be kind to others, but also be kind to yourself. So playing from the heart is very hard. And if you're playing and you like too much in your head, just be kind to yourself. It happens. And if you are anxious and you make a mistake or you play something fast just because you're anxious and you're not really in the pocket or whatever, be kind to you because it's real as well. And that's where you are in that moment. Just try to always play from your heart, but, also be kind to yourself when you cannot play from your heart.
Yes, everyone should also treat other and themselves with a great kindness, despite of the struggles they endure, no matter if it's about music or other areas of life. Thank you so much, Artur, for your kindness and patience here with us, despite all of our technical issues that we've endured here. It was a blast to have you with us here today, and it's a great honor for us. Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, just want to say thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure, and I'm glad we had this chat. It was great.
If you are a blues passionate and a guitar player searching for a teacher or blues mentor, you may sign up for his lessons at the Musicians Institute of Hollywood, Los Angeles, or check his online courses and masterclasses on the best internet platforms for learning guitar: TrueFire, JTC, Guitar, Jamplay.com. If you are searching for those classy, vintage-style Stratocaster tones that Artur loves, check out the Euphony Pickups web page where you may purchase his signature pickups. You can listen to Artur Menezes' music on all streaming platforms, buy his albums on retail or in the iTunes store. Give some love to his newest EP, AM/FM, released a couple of months ago. Follow him on social media. He's very active on Instagram and Facebook. His YouTube channel has music videos for his singles, including the latest one, Hurts Like Hell. There you can also find snippets from his live shows and some insights about his gear. Regardless of how you are listening to this episode, you may find links to all those places we mentioned in the description of the episode. Artur, it was a pleasure. We are honored and we cannot wait for the future albums, music, concerts. We'll be there for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Artur, so much for the interview. We want to finish up this episode with a short information. You can follow us on social media as well. The links will be also in the description down below. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and so on. Most of the content we produce is in Polish, but you can translate it using the kind of auto translation that is available on social media. And you can always wait a little bit. We're probably going to make some more English episodes and interviews in the future. So there's going to be something interesting coming up in English language in the future from our side as well. Thank you so much for your attention, and we hope to hear from you again. Bye-bye.
See ya.